Alright, hey guys, what's happening? It's Chris Mealich. Hey, so I got a update on Division 4, Region 13. After the Week 3 games, I'm going to rank these ones just like we did last week, from the lowest amount of guaranteed points if they would win out, all the way to the most amount of points guaranteed if they win out. Also through there, I'm going to point out the matchups within the region this week, and what place they're actually ranked right now in the region based on averages. Then there's a couple new wrinkles this week, as some teams have gotten to the point already where even if they get their maximum amount of points available, some teams, just by virtue of winning out, have already started to eliminate them. So I'll go ahead and make sure that I point those ones out as well. So with that, the other thing I did want to say real quick before I get started is there was a request for Division 2 Region 5. I am probably about 75% of the way done with that, and my goal will be to have it completed definitely this week before Friday's games, and I'll get a video posted of that as well. If you have any other regions that you want me to work on next, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll just try to start plugging away at every region, but it's definitely a pretty time-consuming process until I get all the numbers in place. So, okay, now, so without further ado, let's get started. So the team with the lowest amount of guaranteed points, with 10.81 points, is Byesville Meadowbrook. They're actually sitting there at 3-0. They're ranked 7th, or they're sitting 7th, based on computer points in the region. But they do have a maximum amount of points of 33.54. Just above them, in 27th in the region, is 0-3 Buckeye Local. They'll be facing off against Indian Creek. Indian Creek is actually sitting 5th in the region right now, with a 6.51 point average. So the max, or the guaranteed points if they would win out, are 11.18 for Buckeye Local and 18.39 for Indian Creek. Buckeye Local is one of those teams that's already starting to get pretty close to find themselves in the position that they're going to be fighting for anything if they could possibly win out as well. So above Buckeye Local, we've got Lisbon Beaver. Beaver can get up to 11.25 points guaranteed with a win out, and would max out at 22.68. Ericksville Claymont, also tied for 22nd in the region, without a win, would be sitting 25th in guaranteed points if they went out, with 11.75, and they have a max of 25.35 points. Above Ericksville Claymont, you have East Liverpool, who's got a win. They're sitting in 18th right now in the region. They have 11.97 points would be their guaranteed if they went out, and 27.86 maximum amount of points. Just above East Liverpool, you have Riverview. Riverview has not won a game yet. They're 0-3, and they'll actually be facing off against 19th in the region, Philo, this week. Riverview would be able to get to a guarantee of 12.3 points if they would win out, and Philo would be able to get to a guaranteed 14.8 points if they would win out. Okay, and above Riverview, we've got the first of the teams that's been pretty dominant so far this season. Canal Fulton Northwest has the 22nd highest guaranteed points if they win out, and we've talked about it before, but that's strictly based on the fact that the teams that they beat, none of them play each other. So they're not getting a lot of guaranteed points, but as long as those teams that they face continue to win, that number will just keep growing and growing. So they have guaranteed 12.72 points, but they're actually sitting second in points available with 45.96. Above Canal Fulton Northwest is Indian Valley. Indian Valley's got a couple of wins. They're sitting 13th in the region right now with a maximum of 13.6 points guaranteed, or a guarantee of 13.6 if they win out, and a maximum of 25.8 points. Above Indian Valley, sitting in 20th, is Steubenville. Steubenville is obviously leading the region right now, and they would have a guaranteed points of 14.17 if they win out, and could get as high as 47.78 points maximum. Just above Steubenville, we have Ontario. Ontario is 0-3. And they could get to a total of 14.3 points if they win out, but they max out at 21.75. And that 21.75 puts them in the position that there's one team that could actually beat them just by virtue of winning out, and that's Bloom Carroll. So some of these teams are already starting to find themselves in, it's not control your own destiny, to make the playoffs yet, but control your own destiny to guarantee that you don't finish last or, at a certain level down in the region. So above Ontario, we've got Shelby. They're 18th in the guaranteed points with 14.6. They would cap at 24.85. And they're sitting 15th in the region right now. So we already mentioned Philo briefly when we was talking about Riverview. Philo is 19th in the region with 2 points as their average. 14.8 is their guaranteed if they would win out, and 23.8 is where they would cap out at. Above Philo in 16th in guaranteed points is New Lexington. They're currently 20th in the region with 1.83 points. Their guaranteed win-out points is 15.25, and their maximum is 24.35 points. Above New Lex, which is interesting because these three teams were all from the same league, but above New Lex is John Glenn. So John Glenn has not won a game yet, so they're actually tied for 22nd in the region, but they are 15th in guaranteed points with 15.45, but they only have a maximum of 22 points, which is quickly starting to dwindle for them. Above John Glenn, 14th in guaranteed points is Cambridge. Cambridge currently sits 12th in the region. Cambridge could get to 17.05 just by virtue of winning out, and would cap out at 36.75. So Cambridge is still in a pretty solid position as far as making the playoffs. As long as they continue to win, they're going to be pretty tough to keep out of the playoffs for sure. Above Cambridge is St. Clairsville. Obviously, St. Clairsville didn't play this week, so they are sitting at 2-0. They're ranked third in the region right now with 6.7 points. And you may see a little bit different number on Joe Itel, and that's because what I've done is I've already marked down their divisor for their level 2 points to what it'll be at the end of the season. But St. Clairsville, so they're third right now in the region, 13th in the guaranteed points with 17.27, and they would cap out at 40.06 points. So just above St. Clairsville, we've got Heath. Heath is 12th in guaranteed points, 14th in the region right now, with 3.33 points. They would be guaranteed 17.65 points if they would win out, and 33.3 points if it would be their guarantee or their maximums. Sorry. Heath actually this week faces Licking Valley. Licking Valley sitting there with 4.83 points, which puts them in 9th in the region. They're 10th in guaranteed points with 19.65. And with 37.6 points, they do have a very high amount of potential points that they could score. So that will be a pretty key matchup for the region this week, I would say. As you got 2-1 Valley facing 2-1 Heath. So sandwiched in between those two teams, and 11th in guaranteed points if they win out, is Indian Creek. We talked about them a little bit because they face Buckeye Local from the region this week. Indian Creek sitting there at 3-0. They're 5th currently in the region with 6.51 points. They could get to 18.39 just by virtue of winning out, and 32.56 would be their maximum. As I mentioned, we just went through the whole rundown with Licking Valley, so we'll go ahead and skip up to 6th in the region right now, 9th in guaranteed points, and that's Maysville. They have 6.02 points right now. 20.15 points is their guaranteed if they win out, and 28.15 is their maximum. Another thing that I track for it, for all the teams, but something to note, Maysville actually is sitting second in their guaranteed points if they would lose out. So their very base bottom minimum is 4.05 points. And that's because several of the teams that they beat already will play each other later in the season. So above Maysville, we have our last team that has not won a game yet, and that was something I found rather interesting. But Minerva, who is 8th in guaranteed points, is 22nd, obviously in the region without a win. But Minerva, if they would win out, would be guaranteed 20.4 points, but they would max out at 21 points. So they're already basically to the point that they're, if they win out, they're gonna, cap, but it's gonna be very, very, very tough for them. They're not gonna get any additional points by winning. So every game that they lose, we're gonna see both of those numbers drop. And Minerva is the one, like I said, so they have 21 points maximum, which is the lowest amount of anybody in the region. And actually, that puts them in a position that there are 6 teams that would be guaranteed to beat them just by winning out. They wouldn't even have to get any additional points. They're going to beat that 21. So, above Minerva in 7th in guaranteed points to win out is Canton South, and they'll be facing off against 2nd in guaranteed points if they win out, Salem, this week. So that's going to be a pretty key matchup for this analysis that I do. Canton South has a guaranteed minimum of 20.4 points if they would win out, and 24.7 points is their maximum. And like I said, Salem is sitting there with 21.6 points if they would win out, and 31.25 points is their maximum. And Salem is actually currently sitting 8th in the region, so should be an important matchup for the region. Obviously, if Salem wins, they put themselves, in a real good situation going forward. Just above Canton South, we have Johnstown. Johnstown's currently sitting 2nd in the region with 7.53 points. 6th in guaranteed points if they win out of 21.45, and a cap of 41.15 points. So the Johnstown team is probably in the best position of any team in the region to kind of control their own destiny right now. they've looked pretty good so far. And, like I said, if they can max out at 41.15, they have both the highest numbers of everyone in the region. So actually, Johnstown is tied for 5th with the current team that we're going to talk about, and that's Amanda Clear Creek. Amanda Clear Creek obviously also can guarantee 21.45 if they win out, but they only have a max of 26.15. And they currently sit 17th in the region with 2.07 points. Above Amanda Clear Creek, we've got Lakewood. Lakewood is sitting in 15th in the region right now with 2.33 points. 4th, based on these rankings. Actually, that's 2nd based on these rankings at 21.6. There's 3 teams that are tied with 21.6 points. But Lakewood has a guaranteed maximum of 30.7 points, or has a maximum available of 30.7 points, I should say. So obviously also tied with Lakewood and Salem, who we mentioned already, is Fairfield Union. Fairfield Union has 4.05 points right now. That puts them 11th in the region. They have that 21.6 guarantee if they win out, and they have a maximum of 29.35 points. And our current leader in guaranteed points if they win out is Bloom Carroll. Bloom Carroll sits 10th in the region with 4.4 points right now. Like I said, 21.95 is their guaranteed amount of points if they would win out, and they would max out at 29.75 points right now. So that is it for Region 13. Like I said, this probably won't be posted until this evening. It's Monday, because it's going to take a little while for me to upload this to YouTube, but I will get the spreadsheet up, and I'm going to rank it, back on the average, what's kind of the standard in the state of Ohio. It's going to be similar to it'll be similar to the numbers you see over at Joe Itel. So if you have any questions, let me know. Put it in the comments here on YouTube. You can go to either yappy.com or JJ Huddle and put a request or a question in there, and I will do what I can to figure out the answer for it. Also, you can leave a comment on my blog once I get the couple thousand word write-up for the region done, which I'll probably work on that tonight once I get home from work. So if you have any questions, like I said, just get a hold of me. There's quite a few ways. You can find me on Twitter as well, Facebook. You can hit my email at the5kcoach@gmail.com any way you want. So thanks, guys, and have a good week.